Hi, how you doing? Jobie again from Little Star Renovations, doing a little talk on decks today. I'm the owner of a Vancouver-based renovation company. We do large and small renovations, anywhere from a bathroom to a kitchen to an addition, and sprinkled out through every year we do many decks. And you can check out our website, www.littlestarrenovations.com, to see some of the projects we've done, very custom. But today I quickly want to speak to you about decking products, surfacing products. Every time I go to, my mind just suddenly lost track there for a second, thinking about a job that's coming up soon. The question I'm always asked is, what should I put on the deck? And obviously the first thing, there's about four different products we can use. I think there's four. So we got pressure treated wood, which is fir. Now, the good thing about pressure treated is it's highly durable. It's going to take a beating. It's going to last a long time. The downside is that pressure treated, I don't know really if they've stopped using arsenic in pressure treated wood, but it's a bit toxic. They pressurize a wood preservative into the wood to make it last longer. Obviously, wood preservative is going to be some kind of poison, because believe me, I've had it splash close to my face and felt like throwing up. So if you're in any way concerned about environmental issues or health, well, I don't think it's really going to be a health hazard when you're not around the sawdust and whatnot. But if you want to kind of, support those things, then maybe that's not the way to go. The other downside to fir is that it does check and crack. So there's lots of knots in the fir. You're not going to get clear fir anymore. Trees are too small. We can't get clear fir. So when the heat hits it, you're going to get it split apart and crack. It's not going to wreck the wood. It's not going to, it doesn't mean you have to replace it, but it does mean, it's not so attractive to look at. But it's cheap. It's very cheap. It's probably the cheapest form of decking material. The next step up would be cedar. There's some pros and cons with cedar. Cedar is beautiful. It won't check and crack because it's a very soft wood. You get way less knots in it. And it looks a lot nicer, but it only looks nice until winter comes. You have to, now, a couple of downsides to cedar. One, I say another upside is it's really workable. It's malleable. It doesn't stretch and expand as much. Stretch and expand. That's the same thing. Shrink and expand the same way. So I prefer it in that regard. But it is a soft wood. So eventually over years, most times when we're going to replace a deck or do repairs, and you can push your finger, you've probably all seen those decks where you can push your finger right into a corner or something where it's kind of taken in water and it acts like a sponge after a while. So you need to be aware, if you go into a cedar deck, the maintenance is going to be a lot higher than a fir deck or a spruce. So one of the main things you need to do is pick a very good product, and I don't want to slam Home Depot, but I'm going to right here. Don't use a Home Depot brand or Rona brand of stain. Definitely not. We use Penafin or Saskins. Benjamin Moore actually has a good line of stain, but it's very, very important that you don't put a cheap and nasty stain on there, because you will regret it. It will be a absolute pain in the rear end to sand off and restain with a better product when you've realized that it's kind of blown up in your face. Don't use a paint. I always say use a semi-transparent or transparent stain. Paints will crack and reject when the moisture gets in behind it. And it looks terrible after a while. Pros and cons with cedar. It's a little bit more expensive than pressure treated. But you are going to be up for some maintenance, and it will darken over time, so you'll have to wash it, bring it back, then stain it. It's quite involved if you have a big deck. The third deck option is composite woods, which are very popular now. So they're made out of recycled products. They're kind of like an outside version of laminate flooring. They use recycled products. And they're extremely durable. They last forever, probably. And they try and imitate real wood. Now, couple downsides to it. Personally, I'm not a big fan of the look. It's very expensive. It's extremely heavy. So like if you're doing a herringbone design on your deck, you're going to have to use your joists at 16-inch centers, because when it heats up, the composite will actually start to bow. And I've had that happen before. With pressure-treated wood or cedar, we do 24-inch centers, no big deal. But I think even less than 16-inch centers, maybe 12, because you'll get this swooping happening. So that's one downside to it. It's extremely heavy, very expensive, and in my opinion, looks subpar. It doesn't look like real wood. It shines. It has a bit of a glimmer to it, and you can't sand the edges because it's only got a finished. I don't have a sample here, but it's only got a finished perimeter around it. So if ever you have any open end grain, like on regular wood, end grain looks fantastic, but on composite wood, it looks terrible. So you have to cap it all off, and you can't sand the corners like you can pressure-treated wood or cedar. So those would be a couple of downsides. I would say the weight of it. It does heat up a lot in the summer, so it'll be very hot underfoot because it's plastic. And yeah, just not a fan myself, honestly. I don't like it. Now, the third and my favorite option, and I brought some samples here to show you, is an exotic hardwood. Now, I think I'm pretty sure this is sustainable. Now, here's a sample of it untreated, and you can see it there. This is actually Caillou. You can check out their website if you can see it there. Canadian-based company. They bring this over from Indonesia. Now, this is definitely my preferred product if you can afford it. It's about the same, if not cheaper, than composite wood. It's a real wood, so it looks fantastic. There's no knots in it, like you can tell. You might get the odd little knot, but barely any knots. And it is extremely durable. They use it, actually, the guy who started Caillou Canada found it on a cruise ship. He was on a cruise ship and he saw this wood that was on the decks and thought, wow, this is insanely durable. I can move my deck chair around. It doesn't seem to gouge it. It's taking all of the beating of the weather. And so he researched it and found out it was this Caillou batu from Indonesia. So we started using it. You can use it for fascia, you can use it for soffitting, you can use it for decking, fencing. It is pricey. But in comparison to composite, it's about the same and way nicer product. What I've done at my house, and it doesn't, is I haven't stained it at all. I've just left it raw. So when it's raw, you'll see that it'll actually start to you see the different colors here. It'll just soften up, and I think it has a really nice look. Adding stain to it it doesn't really prolong the life of the product. It just makes it look richer. I've got a stained one here. You see how it just looks richer and darker? So it's non-stained, stained. Anyway, great product. You can use it. Hello. You can use it on docks. You can use it. I mean, it just takes a beating. Sometimes it'll snap the screw off when you're drilling into it. It does stretch and expand a little bit. So here we've got a T&G, which would be used for soffitting. And we would actually have to install this in the summer with a bit of a gap, because in the winter it would swell up and these would end up popping. And this stuff is so powerful, I've seen it just snap a screw off. Now, I would use one word of caution. This is not decking material, this is soffitting material, but it's the same product, just machined differently. One word of caution I would say is, if you're going to do this and not hire us, definitely go with a 4-inch product. They do sell a 6-inch for decking material, but it cups. It goes like this. So when the weather hits it, after a while it'll start to cup and it will snap any screw you put into it. It's unbelievably powerful. This is a 4-inch here. And if you see our website, you'll see lots of 4-inch. I think it looks way better, to be honest with you, but it's bulletproof. It won't cup, it won't buckle. We use stainless steel brads, 18 gauge brads, and PLs 400. So it has to be dry weather. It's no callbacks for us. 6-inch, bit of a nightmare. We're always getting called back. Can you fix this board? It snapped and cupped and whatnot. So we just don't use it anymore. So there are, I think, 4 products I did. Pressure treated, cedar, composite, and my favorite, which is the exotic hardwoods. Teak is another one, exotic, it's a bit more pricey. They call it ironwood as well. So best bang for your buck, if you're going to spend a lot of time on the deck, enjoy your deck, you know, for a long time, then I would definitely invest in an exotic hardwood 100% every time. If you're going to flip your home, go with cedar. But cedar will gouge up and kind of look crappy after a while. All right, hope that helps. Again, Jobie, Little Star Renovations. Check our website out at www.littlestarrenovations.com. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, and we want to do your home. We want to renovate your home and do a great job of it. We want to make you clients for life. All right.